just wanna.
Hold on.
So
There we are.
I was about to say, where the hell did you go?
Yeah, right as the countdown clock hit, somehow my computer got knocked into sleep mode. So I had to quickly take it out of sleep mode, and then I wait until the intro quit, so that way the fucking thing would not interrupt. So anyway, welcome back to this week in college football. My name is Red, as always. I'm joined by my friends Alan and Akbar. Alan, follow him on YouTube. Akbar, follow him on Twitch if you don't mind. His link is down there in the description. Alan, you can still find him by his same name on his YouTube channel. Now, gentlemen, we got a lot to talk about this week. It's not like last week we had a lot to talk about and kind of digest because the college football playoff restructuring and all that nonsense went down and happened and all that good shit. But we've got some other shit that we got to talk about this week because lo and behold, the House settlement has finally gone final, and college football is forever changed because the settlement has finally been approved. College players, for the first time in history of American athletics, are going to be paid for their work in sports. I want to start off by saying, can I get your initial reaction to this news?
About time, kind of. Honestly.
Yeah, time for starters, but to all the Karens, and all the assholes, and to the NCAA specifically, because you have been trying to prevent this for a long goddamn time, you can all go fuck yourselves. These kids deserve to get paid. You can take issue with how NIL has been rolled out. You can take issue with the lawlessness of it, and there's an argument there. But
I agree.
And also,
I agree completely.
Another note, I don't know if you're going to bring it up, but a bunch of players going as far back as 2016 are getting back pay. From everything.
Where do you think that $2.8 billion is going?
I don't want to say.
Well, before we go any further, I almost forgot. I want to do a quick thank you, of course, to some of our patrons that directly fund the channel. We get them on screen real fast here. Thank you to our Patreon members of the Red Army, our captains, Champ Gold, Malik Freeman, Crosley Jones, our sergeants, Anthony Brown, Adonis Fatchin Shaw, Ethan Giesler, Edgar Carter, Jonathan Peck, Me Cooley, Cameron Smith, TJ Stanley, Jay Capelot, and our two privates, Jeremy Johnson, No Eat 'em on sandwiches. If you guys want to get your name listed here in the weekly show, as well as other features, including behind the scenes updates, early access to the videos for those that are ranked sergeant or captain, go over to my Patreon and subscribe there. Privates start at $3 a month, sergeants $5 a month, captain of the Red Army $10 a month. That said, you don't have to do this if you can't afford it. I know times are tough for a lot of us out there. So the least you can do, like the video, share it with your friends, and spread the word. Continue to grow the channel. Now that I got that out of the way, let's get back into this. And I'm going to kind of start off as well and just say this is all because Ed O'Bannon let the genie out of the bottle a couple years ago. When Ed O'Bannon sued NCAA, the college trademarks agency, as well as the EA Sports, who was running the NCAA football games, that kind of was the Pandora's box being opened there, if you think back about it, because we wouldn't be here if the NCAA had not lost that initial suit in the Ed O'Bannon case. We wouldn't. You could expand it further and say that it all really began to go downhill when Oklahoma and Georgia defeated the NCAA in court in the 1980s over television rights. But really, that's where the modern ball started to go downhill. And now the NCAA couldn't buy a fucking win in Congress in court, and they're begging Congress to help them out with some antitrust shit, but they're not doing shit. So, Akbar, what do you think?
What really much is there to say about this, especially considering the fact that John Oliver did a whole thing about this a couple of years back. I forget how many years ago, but
He
brought up the Ed O'Bannon thing. But anyways, he was pointing out I think I forget that one kid who injured himself. Like he had a scholarship ride in I forget what school it was to, but he had a whole scholarship ride that he got when he was still in middle school. Basically, it's just okay, just get through high school and all that stuff, and you'll be coming to our school. And he got suffered a permanent injury that basically crippled his ability to play ever again. And then they dropped the scholarship and all that stuff. And it's just that was one thing, but then you also remember, just considering with how these, especially football programs, these kids are putting their limbs on the line all the time.
Oh yeah,
they're a lot of them are suffering injuries and all that stuff, and then basically, essentially, if they suffer something career ending, they are boned. to quote the words of one Bender Bending Rodriguez, well, we're boned.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty true. Granted, they are going to a school, but that doesn't necessarily
you can't pay anything with an education. That was that joke.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Everybody thinks, well, they're already going to school. What more do you want? I'm like, do you know how many people have dropped out or have graduated college and don't have fucking work? Hell, somebody at my real life job has a master's in engineering and is making the minimum pay grade at my company because they couldn't find anything else. That's the way it is with some of these degrees sometimes. So, this is something that I think has just been going on. It's been needing to happen for a long fucking time now. And it was the eventual outcome. I don't think anybody who's been following this at any period of time is surprised to see that this is what has happened. Now the question is going to become, what does this mean for the rest of college football? And not just that, this doesn't just affect college football. I put up a thing for Mario Asonic, who messaged earlier, by the way. Yeah, I saw your pre-show messages about North Dakota State being mentioned in the Wisconsin video. I was very happy that they happened to run into that history a little bit, because I figured, oh boy, he's going to like this one. So,
I have not watched the Wisconsin video yet. I will get to that after this live stream.
I know, it's okay. The Wisconsin video I just uploaded just went live a couple hours ago, so you can finish watching this and go there, or you can go there and come back and watch this later. It's obviously going to be on the whatever after this. But regardless, we are. It's not just going to affect football. That's the one thing I want us to remember here. It's going to affect all college sports: football, basketball, baseball, hockey, swimming, diving, Olympic sports, wrestling, you name it. Every single student athlete in Division I is going to be touched in some way, shape, or form by these payments, because that's the settlement. That's what the NCAA, that is what the schools and the conferences are going to be required to do. And it's going to be at a cap as well. So let's say you got a cap limit. The max, you cannot put 100% of the investment in one area. Every single sport has to get something. And I think most schools are expected to put 75% of their school's budget into football. And then a certain percentage for basketball, a smaller percentage for baseball. And then that's about where you'll start to see everybody's going to get a minimum of 5% of this money. So that is where it kind of is, and I'm kind of torn on it because here's the thing: this is something that's been needing to happen for a long time. A lot of these kids, quite frankly, they don't get much else for monetary income. I mean, you got to keep in mind here, if you're a student athlete, which I was one at one point, I was Division III, but same similar lifestyle. If you're an NCAA athlete, no matter what sport, my experience with football, most days we got up at 5 a.m., went to work out, went to class. I had to work 2 on-campus jobs as well. Go to eat, go to class, go to practice, go to study hall, go to film study, another film study, team meeting, and then dinner is somewhere in there, lights out by 9, if you're lucky and you have time for homework. It's not you don't have time to do any other like jobs. Like I don't know anybody out there that's ever been a student athlete and also worked a real job. I don't know how you did it. Genuinely, I don't know how you did it because it's such a time-consuming thing. So the very least that could be done here for these student athletes is making sure that they get some sort of a monetary gain from these schools, not just the education, not just a guaranteed full ride, but a little bit of cash for them to have on hand to get things done as they need to go get their shit checked out at a doctor's office, to get groceries, to get food, to laundry detergents, fucking popcorn for the microwave. You know what I mean? Marchan ramen. Like you need even a Division I athlete that's on a full ride needs money. And I know that I'm not saying, and I'm not as stupid. I know like your big athletes like your Arch Mannings, your Jeremiah Smiths, they're gonna get this plus their NIL deals, plus endorsements and sponsorships. Jeremiah Smith, especially since he's a covered athlete for EA college football. But either way, Mr. Cynical, I'm sorry, Akbar. I'm sorry, Akbar. Give me 1 second. Cynical did send 5. Mr. Cynical for $5. Unlike the NCAA paying off the government, we, the chat, can pay off bread and roads. Thank you, Cynical. I do appreciate it.
You want to talk paying something off? You want to pay for my college and my online college and my car? That'd be nice. I'd appreciate it.
I have a Ko-fi now on Twitch, linked with Twitch. If you want to bribe me, I make a certain joke, but it's too political. So
I'm sorry, Akbar. Now, what were you gonna say, man? I'm sorry.
I was gonna say
just wanted to get to that.
This definitely helps the players that are like the third string linebackers or wide receivers or something that don't get like any playing time. This helps them better than say like the folks that are the first stringers, the ones that are obviously going to get the NIL deals and all that stuff. The big ones, at least, you know, like oh shoot, can somebody give me an example? I don't want to say I didn't want to say Arch Manning or something because it's like, dude, he's the Manning family. He's already loaded to begin with. He wouldn't even really need it.
Yeah, well, I mean, even if you don't need it, like this is still like it's more than fair. But there are some caveats that we are going to get to here. There's a couple of things I do want to show if we could pull this back up here, because obviously nothing's ever 100% like foolproof, right? Let's go to a couple of tweets I've been following along. So obviously this is a little bit about what we already talked about. The House settlement would pay thousands of former athletes that played from 16 to 24, combined $2.8 million in back pay from lost NIL compensation. That is coming out of the schools and the conferences themselves. The NCAA a little bit as well, but for the most part, that's going to be the school doing back pay and paying off these settlements, which I think that comes out to a couple $1 million per school. I guess it depends on how severe it is and also the conferences and just a lot of revenue. What else was there? I saw this. This is pretty funny from the House settlement. Pac-12 is legally and lawfully recognized as a Power 5 conference. Still. Like it says so right here in this section of the lawsuit. Beginning in July 1st, 2025, each participating school can distribute up to 22% of average revenue among schools in the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, Pac 12, and SEC. It's right there in black and white. So by law, the Pac 12 is not dead. It's not fucking dead. I find that fucking hilarious. So technically, there's still a Power 5. I don't know how. There still is. Oh my god. And then Rookie 17 says this. Pac-12 is dead. Yeah, Electro. But let's see here. 2.8 billion is kind of low, especially for thousands of athletes. I don't know about that.
What was that one animated Superman film where Superman dies, but in like an alternate timeline, Superman is also there at the same time, and he just takes over.
Yeah,
that's what happened to the Pac-12. Alternate timeline Pac-12 to the rescue. Also, I shared something on Discord. I if we could put that one up sometime later.
I'll see if I can pull that up real quick. What did you put? Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. I promise. We will get there. Here's the timeline roughly of how this is going to play out and how it's going to be adopted. So this is what the next few months will be. So June 6th, the element was approved. It's adopted by the SLA back in April, so it's now law. In a couple of days, the NIL Go portal launches. I don't really know what that is yet. I think it's just I think it's how they streamline NIL deals. June 15th, opt-in deadline for non-dependent schools to fully commit to revenue sharing. And then by the end of June, opt-in schools must designate student athletes permitted by the settlement to remain above roster limits. That's the first thing I'm going to kind of dig into there. What this is going to mean, unfortunately, for the history of the game, especially for football, is kind of the end of walk-on athletes. Because the settlement requires that all Division I athletes are getting paid. They have to be on scholarship. And because of that, walk-ons need not apply. And that's tough because a lot of walk-ons don't really get a chance to play any other way. Let's say they're from the sticks and they just go to the school that they wanted to go to and they're already there, so they're just having a good time playing football, and it turns out they're really good. Well, sorry. Tough luck. If you're going to the NAIA or something, I don't know if you want to play.
You're going to Brazil.
Yeah, you're going to college football is basically a version of Brazil. The other thing that this kind of does is it also forces more scholarships in sports where there really weren't any to begin with, like swimming, diving, wrestling. Those Olympic sports, you would not really see a ton of athletic scholarships being allocated to them because they weren't as seen as important. Now they're going to be required to get more scholarships. You're going to see more scholarships for softball, for women's basketball, for women's, women have to get the same number of scholarships in a given sport as men. So if you got to give out 15 scholarships for men's basketball, now you're giving away 15 scholarships for women's basketball as well. It's got to be equal. But there's no walk-ons. If you're a walk-on, you're probably about to, not be allowed to play anymore. That sucks. That's really tough because, a lot of those guys, they just play for the love of the game. And Texas A&M, I know, has like a beautiful tradition with the 12th man and their walk-on athletes. I don't know what happens from here on that. I really don't. So that's the first real criticism I have for the settlement, is that it completely kills the idea of a walk-on. Going through the rest of the timeline here, July 1st, 2025, first day for direct institutional revenue sharing payments to student athletes, a.k.a. payday for student athletes that are currently enrolled in their schools for the upcoming year. July 6th, opt-in schools must designate student athletes permitted by the settlement to remain above roster limits. I guess it's for another thing. 25-26 academic year, with the exception of designated student athletes, fall sports must be at or below roster limits by their first day of competition. And December 1st, exception of designated student athletes, winter and spring sports must be at or below roster limits by their first day of competition or December 1st, whichever is earlier. That means roster limits. I think football is going to be reduced to 80 players per team because you can only give like 20, 25 scholarships per year, roughly, give or take. So like 4 years, give or take, roughly 80, 85, maybe max. I can't remember what the exact number is. What do you guys think of this? What I just laid out there. I just realized this whole thing was not at the stage. So I'm going to add this now.
Yeah.
You guys in the audience can read.
It is what it is.
A lot of information, I know. Yeah, kind of is what it is, yeah.
I don't have much to say about that really, other than what it says right there in front of us.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that this establishes is something called the College Sports Commission. This is going to be the new, basically, police arm for NIL and for school revenue sharing. This kind of kicks out the NCAA. NCAA will not be responsible for enforcing the payments to student athletes. The College Sports Commission is the be-all, end-all. And as such, they have a leader who is going to be a former MLB executive by the name of Brian Seeley. He'll be the new commissioner or CEO of the College Sports Commission. So
somebody check what university he went to.
I want to say Harvard.
You can see what he was involved in with MLB and how close he was to man fraud. Yes, I said man fraud. Deal with it.
Oh, I swear to God, Alan, if you say another thing about something related to that, I will fly to your house and slap you with a fish.
Okay, so Seeley was hired by the 4 power conference commissioners.
Come at me.
So the Big 10, Big 12, SEC, and ACC all signed off on this. It's kind of like you're the commissioner of a sports league, right? You're not employed by the commission. You're employed by the conferences that run the shit or the teams that run the shit, right? So that's where that is. Yeah, I know. Hang on a second. I want to look up a little bit more. They describe this guy a little better. So never heard of this guy until he got hired. So Brian Seeley, let's see here. Seeley is MLB's executive vice president of legal operations. He brings investigative experience, which will be key in this role in the post-settlement era. NCAA no longer in charge of enforcement of most rules. It will still maintain purview over things like academics, but not benefits. So the NCAA is out in that regard. It's going to have so basically this guy is going to be who we blame the next time a school gets put on probation. It's not going to be the NCAA no more. It's the CSC. What the hell's that? I'd make a clip about crab legs in Florida State, but that shot would be picked off that, so then you could say, no, Knowles, no. Zap, sometimes, man, you hit, but sometimes you whiff. This was a whiff.
What the f was that?
Nice try, bud. Keep trying again. I gotta tell you, man, this whole thing seems pretty legit to me. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with having something like this set up. We need a governing body in college athletics that's not a geriatric fucking dinosaur of an organization like NCAA. I could have said a bunch of different things there, but I held my tongue for good reason. It went out worse than A&M on the diamond. Fair enough. All right, Steph. Cool. So there's a couple other things that got brought up here about the settlement as a whole, but I mean that's pretty much the gist of it, man. As a whole, this settlement is just. I mean, it's what we've been waiting for a long time. It's going to change the face of college sports. There's a lot of people saying that it's going to kill non-revenue sports like your Olympic stuff and wrestling and all that shit. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. I think it's going to kind of come down to what are the priorities of the schools involved. There's a good chance we could see a couple of schools that self-relegate themselves to FCS if they can't afford to do this shit. Because again, FBS schools only here. FCS Division I is not touched by this. This is only for the bowl subdivision. That's it. Would this mean that vacated wins like that of USC's 2004 city are reversed or no? No, not yet. No. Although there's some people saying that it should be.
I mean,
Phoenix for the $2. Thank you. 75 days away from football. I'm dying of boredom. Well, I hope my Wisconsin video helped relieve some of that boredom for you today. This is the. I mean, here's the other thing I want to mention. It's not like this is shocking stuff, right? This is something that we kind of all saw coming. NIL has been around for a couple of years now, so everybody was kind of reacting like this was going to happen, and it was going to happen regardless. So the fact that it's now official is not shocking. The only thing it's going to be a lot of questions about is how does this affect non-rev? How does this affect walk-ons? How does this affect schools in general, especially the smaller ones? And I heard a couple of people whispering like maybe Title IX investigations could happen here if the schools don't properly allocate resources to the women's sports. There's obviously not a women's football league for college. But how does this affect Title IX in fairness? I don't know. Rookie, I'm going to warn you now. If you keep asking me about that, and you're going to get flagged for spam, I'm sorry. I know this is I know you seem pretty hell bent on me making a video about the England men's football team, but I do college football, and I mean I might fuck around and do that one day, but you asking me how many times is not going to help.
Actually, that actually would be a fun video idea for April Fools.
I said that earlier in the live stream chat. He asked about that too, and in the live stream chat, and I'm all for doing fun little things like that. But man, don't ask like 100 times. I'm sorry. You've been asking throughout this stream too, and I hope you understand my answer there. All right, that's pretty much about it with the house settlement stuff. And now I really just kind of want to open this up to kind of like a little bit of a Q&A. And we can talk about the house settlement. We can talk about ongoing news in college football. We can literally kind of make this whatever we want. So do you got any questions about anything related to this shit or what? Not even about house, just about anything. Just shoot the shit for, 20 minutes.
I'm sorry. Can you briefly repeat what you just said?
Yeah, we don't have to. Yeah, it's Q&A time. I don't give a shit what you guys have. They could be asking questions about anything in this fucking thing. So just fire away.
Well, okay, yeah. Well, like I said about Rookie, the idea is fun. That is something for like Slap Shoes does with his NASCAR stuff. Like sometimes his April Fool stuff, he'll do something completely different. Like he did one year, he talked about sumo wrestling. So in this case, you doing a video like that with the English national team on an April Fool's, that actually would be a fun idea, actually. But
that would be a fun idea. If it was like 2-3 months ago and I wasn't knee deep in the college football playoff video, I would fucking totally make that. It's definitely not something I'm going to absolutely make right this minute. But Zexo Gaming has a question. Will Maryland get out of the basement football-wise? They got close. They got fucking close like 2 years ago. They did pretty good, but they're not able to retain people right now. People are leaving in the transfer portal like nobody's business. So I would say they can, they might, but with how strong the Big Ten is right now, it's going to be really, really difficult to do. Zep, the biggest thing I'm concerned about with this deal are the teams who, stink and intentionally stay that way. Is there a cap floor in this deal? That's a great question, actually. I'm gonna look this up real quick here.
Ooh, cap floors are something that I would very. This is definitely the case with if you've been paying attention to baseball. I don't know. The freaking Miami Marlins fans have got to be on. They've got to. They clearly have need their livers checked because they've probably been drinking heavily since they got swept by the Rockies.
Brother, since you mentioned it, Rockies fans will tell you to hold their beer. All right.
Hey, at least they.
Okay.
Marlins' problem is that they won 2 World Series and have gotten blown up about 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, I know.
They lucked their way into 2 World Series wins with talent and then got blown the fuck up because ownership with them has never known anything but just wanting money. Anyway.
And the Rockies, meanwhile, that freaking owner doesn't even want to spend a dime. They got one of the cheapest They got one of the cheapest payrolls.
They paid the Cardinals $50 million to take Nolan Arenado.
Why are we talking about baseball on my college football stream, gentlemen?
Because the cap floor was mentioned, and the MLB is the perfect example.
A
salary cap and a salary floor. But the problem is you also have to get people to spend their money.
Okay. You mentioned cap and baseball in the same sentence. It starts a massive debate, so we're going to pump the brakes there. What I will say is that to answer your question, is I got an answer. There's not a minimum cap floor, but schools can spend up to $20.5 million per year for their student athletes. There's not a minimum that they can spend, but they got to spend something. It's going to be up to the individual schools because you think. Tulsa's not going to spend $20 million on their student athletes. They're just not. They can't afford that. The school population is only in the 3,000 or 4,000 students. How many people go to fucking Tulsa anyway? Hang on a second here. How many students go to Tulsa?
Now you don't want to.
Not even 4,000 students go to Tulsa, so they're not going to give you $20.5 million anyway. They're going to give. They're going to give probably the other alternative, which is up to 22% of their media share, and that's it.
That low of a cap, that would really hurt some of the schools when you basically star quarterbacks and all that stuff can really have their have the schools by the balls. It's just you want me to play for you? Okay, I want a Lambo. I want this. I want that. I want that. And then friggin' it's we've pretty much our entire salary cap is going to you alone. Yeah.
And again, they can't just keep all of the revenue in one sport. It's got to be spread out over multiple sports. So the minimum a sport can have, the minimum a sport can be spent is 5% of that cap. Whatever the school's cap is, it's 5%. So that's probably the answer there. So 5% of $20 million. You do the math. Or if you're a Tulsa, 5% of whatever the most they can, 22% of their media cut is. You do the math. Let's see here. What else?
What PSU Blackshoe was saying, he was talking. He mentioned earlier about the Wisconsin video. That 1 year Wisconsin absolutely was they never should have been to the Rose Bowl or something, but they were only there because Ohio State, Penn State were freaking on probation. Again, that one urinating tree audio clip is, I don't know why that made me laugh so hard.
There's no other way to describe this situation there. There's no other way to describe the situation there. I was thinking how do I don't want to say anything. I don't want to take this. I don't want to be too serious, but I also don't want to be deadpan here. And then I remember Tree made that one soundbite from an MLB video from 6-7 years ago, and it worked perfectly. So that's why I went there. That was fucking.
I totally forgot about that part. I totally forgot that not only Ohio State, Penn State was not only on the probation, but so was Ohio State. I forgot about that. I'm
tattoo.
How the heck did Wisconsin? Oh,
Oh,
That's
yeah.
That's how freaking Wisconsin played that Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
The conference was in deep crap.
Well, by the way, since we happen to mention Ohio State, Red, I just want to mention noted Ohio State Buckeyes fan Denny Hamlin won in Michigan today.
Good for Denny Hamlin.
On some late race
Ugh.
school mileage, battling William Byron for the lead. Byron had to back off and ran out of gas. Hamlin
Hey,
had
good for Denny
just
Hamlin.
enough
I don't
get
follow
the
NASCAR
win.
enough, but
Fair enough. He had just enough to get the win and do burnouts, and then ran out of gas and got stuck in the grass.
All that for a
Seen that
freaking
before
Hamlin win.
somewhere.
And meanwhile, Chase Elliott's pit crew keeps sabotaging him. Freaking
And Alex Bowman
What
keeps
the
getting
freak
fucking
was-
wrecked.
what the freak was fueling interference? What the freak was that about?
All right.
And then
Rookie.
apparently equipment by
Rookie 17 is here for the Q&A question. Can Ohio State become back-to-back champions? Yes, but
Sure.
it's not going to be easy. I mean, with Jeremiah Smith, yeah, they got a good chance there with just him. But anytime there's a change, a new season comes about, the roster's not going to be the same. Players aren't going to be the same. Team sure as shit isn't the same. I think we got a chance to, I got to look deeper into it. We're quite at the point yet where I've caught up with all the football teams around the country and what they're going to be looking like come August and September. I'm confident that I think they have a pretty good chance of making the playoff, obviously, and then repeating. But we'll have to see, man. I don't know. I don't think there's anybody else in the Big Ten besides who the fuck's going to compete with them in the Big Ten this year? Oregon's going to be rebuilding. Ohio State. I know Oregon has a chance, but they're going to be rebuilding. Michigan, no.
Well,
they got
hold
some
on
work
a
to do
second.
still.
I
Penn State is kind of Penn State.
I should mention, unfortunately, Evan Stewart suffered an injury this offseason recently. I
saw that.
But if he's out for any length of time this season, let alone the whole season, that's not good.
Then, aren't you?
We have some other capable receivers, but he's our number one guy.
Yeah.
And with a new quarterback coming, with Dante Moore's going to be taking over the starting job and other changes on the offense.
That reference went past both your heads, didn't it?
What?
Yeah, I totally did. Sorry.
You are my number one guy. That's from Batman '89. Mario and Sonic Films had a good question, by the way. I'm looking at it right now. I'll read it off. Oh,
yeah, go ahead. Go for it, Akbar.
Okay.
You can read it. Just read it.
Since college athletes are now eligible to get paid like the pros, will high school athletes eventually get paid as well, since realistically the NCAA and pro leagues are a pipe dream to some?
No.
Not
even close. No.
If it goes to high school, not even just the optics, but go back to when you were in high school. You know how you have your cliques? You got these groups of people. You get your bullies. You get your jocks. That's going to get amped up by 50. I promise you.
I'm going to just answer it by saying this. You don't have NBC, ABC, CBS, and Fox, and ESPN, and TNT extending multi-million-dollar deals to Bishop Gorman. I'm sorry. They're not doing that. That's not how that works.
The closest I could see this is basically some NIL deal for some high school talent that are going to be seen as the next big. Are going to be seen like Arch Manning when he was in high school. Arch Manning in high school, freaking they would be getting him for commercials or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they're not. You can make money in high school now if you're a top prospect. You could get some sort of shoe deal or whatever. No one's stopping you. There's no commission that says high school players can't get a sponsorship. But are we going to see anything like that go down to the high school level? Absolutely fucking not. High school football does not nearly have as much media attention as college football does. And as the old saying goes, say it with me, kids.
Money walks, bullcrap talks.
Bullshit walks.
Akbar, how did you fuck that up?
I tried not to.
Money talks, bullshit. God damn it!
What the f was
Hey, my mother could
It's
be watching this.
4 words. It's 4 fucking words.
My
Just
mother
say
could be
it.
watching. She'd get on.
Look at open inside.
She'd get on my case if I was swearing on air.
You're a grown adult.
Guys, this is a freak. Guys, I'm freaking at the point where it's a point where it's just like, look, my mother does not like you guys or anything because she freaks out about the internet and all that stuff. You know, she's freaking out. That,
Oh,
my gosh,
Jesus.
Well,
I'm
go
I'm
take
going-
a chill pill, go to bed, and relax.
look. My mother is still of that idea of just like, you know, exposing yourself on the internet is going to come back to haunt you completely or something.
Exposing yourself. What do you think we are? Freaking going nude? The fuck?
Okay.
No,
Okay.
Wait.
Hold on. No.
Okay, look.
We are going to cease this now. Okay.
10 seconds. I just needed to say this.
No.
Alan, you might be a little too young for this, but Red, do you remember when you were on the internet as a young kid or something, like maybe the early 2000s something? You're on places like Neopets or whatever. I'm throwing out.
I didn't do Neopets.
Whatever. Those kind of or like those flash video sites or something. You weren't supposed to. The rule of mouth was you were never supposed to put your real name on attached to anything with like your profile or any of that stuff. You know, when we were little kids. Now with social media and everything, and that's a whole different story and all that stuff. But my mother is still of that mindset of like the late 90s, early 2000s internet.
I'm going to ask you a question, Akbar, and I want you to answer me seriously.
Okay.
Did your mother actually name you Akbar?
No.
Then she needs to calm the hell down. We're moving on. Zexo Gaming asks, how good do you think UCLA's quarterback will do at Tennessee? Let's ask for both ways here. How well do we think Nico Iamaleava is going to do at UCLA? And how well are we going to say that the guy that left for Tennessee and basically what became a college sports trade is going to do? Like, you know, I'm going to
matter.
What?
Quite frankly, Tennessee will be okay. Will they make the playoffs? I don't know. If they don't make the playoffs, then everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, you should have paid Nico." No, but
This would be funny if not only Tennessee doesn't make the playoffs, but also UCLA, and then that would be a case of, you were basically screwed either way.
So, the transfer market kind of is funny how this works. So when I search who's quarterback for UCLA, it still shows Ethan Garbers as the starting quarterback for UCLA this upcoming season. I don't think that's going to be the case. But how funny would it be if Garbers ends up going ahead and starting for – hang on a second. I'm going to double check this real quick. Is he still actually the quarterback for UCLA, or didn't he graduate? Hang on a damn minute here. Is this fucking thing not updated yet? Oh, never mind. He's not the quarterback there anymore. He was a redshirt senior last year. So it's going to be Nico at this point, yeah. I was about to say, how funny would it be if he got beaten out by somebody else? But no. So it's going to be Nico. And then the quarterback that transferred was Joey Aguilar, by the way. And if you're from App State, you remember him very well. He was your quarterback at one point. And I think Joey is kind of underrated. He hasn't really gotten a chance to shine since he left App State. I think he's going to finally get a chance to shine in Tennessee. We'll see if he's able to win that starting job come fall. But I think, honestly, with all the drama around Nico, I couldn't tell you. And it's not like UCLA is in like this prime position to become a great football team. Nico coming to UCLA didn't move the meter on recruiting at all. It really didn't. But Tennessee will be fine. They'll be fine. I don't know about playoffs, but they'll be okay.
Shoot.
Zach, as a side note, what would these moves mean for the Golden Domers? Will this force them to merge into a conference? No. Can they still get away with their whole independent shtick? They can still get away with the whole independent shtick.
Until
The
that TV,
media,
until
yeah.
that TV deal falls apart, they freaking ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, I agree. It's based off of media revenue. Media revenue, as in they still got their contract with NBC, so 22% of that's going straight to the football team.
Rookie has the funniest nickname for Nico. It's Nico. If you like pina coladas.
Oh God, Jesus
I love that
Christ.
song.
We're striking out on jokes tonight.
So I put this in the Discord, but ESPN finalizing an agreement to extend its sublicense package with TNT Sports to include a
Yeah, I
college
saw
football
that.
playoff semifinal round, which means that TNT Sports broadcasting rights to one CFP semifinal for the next 3 years. Next year, 2027 and 2028. Currently.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised that they still are doing the sublease crap. I don't know why they're doing that. Frankly, I figured they would go ahead and just do their own, like carve out their own little section of it if they could. But hey, whatever. I guess it's sure, right?
This is for the Notre Dame thing again. The idea that I'm honestly surprised that the NBC is basically just still with the whole Notre Dame thing. They haven't just tried to suck up a whole conference. Like, ABC now has got SEC, got CBS with friggin' Big Ten. I guess Big 12 is pretty much still Fox. And I guess
Pretty much, yeah. It's mainly Fox that is still ESPN a little bit.
I don't know why NBC doesn't get an exclusive deal with the ACC, and then Notre Dame is kind of forced to go back there like they did in 2020. And it's just like,
because number one, there's no guarantee with that. Number two, the ACC's got a deal with ESPN until the mid 2030s, and number three, they don't want to piss anybody off. Yeah. It would start a massive war and another conference schism, and we don't want really like those here. So.
Yeah,
Mario.
You think Notre Dame would go to the ACC again because they're just like, look, the whole conference is trash. This is easy road for us.
Yeah, no, they're not going to do that anytime soon. It's also about the money too. Money talks, bullshit walks. Anyway, Mario, is there any possible chance the Gophers rebound to respectability this year in 2019 with their quote unquote easy schedule? What is Minnesota's schedule this year? Okay, so let's see. They play Buffalo, Northwest States, FCS school. California, Rutgers, home game against Ohio State, or road game against Ohio State. Purdue, Nebraska, Iowa, Michigan State, Oregon, Northwestern, and Wisconsin. I could see them getting 8 wins there. I could reasonably expect that. The Nebraska game's kind of a toss-up. The Oregon game's going to be a loss. The Ohio State game's going to be a loss. Rutgers could be a landmine for them, but I could see 8 wins. So yeah, I think that they could have a decent season, but I don't see like Big Ten title in the future. What, Akbar?
I'm sorry, I just saw this on the article. We mentioned Brian Seeley earlier. I found out he got a bachelor's from Princeton and a law degree from Harvard. It's like, so he would probably be very neutral because he's an Ivy Leaguer. It's not like they got somebody that was from Auburn or something. It's like, there's going to be some SEC bias. This.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyways, you mentioned about it's always like about the money. It's just like, oh shoot, you need to use that clip from Into the Spider-Verse with Kingpin. It's not about this money, Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I just bet everything on the Knicks, baby.
I need to do that with something. That's a great idea. It's not about the money, Spider-Man. Actually, it is. It's all about the fucking money. Give me all the goddamn money. Money talks, bullshit walks. All about the money.
Because I bet it all in the Knicks, baby. Go, love the Knicks. Let's go. No. I have that saved on my Instagram.
All right. Let's see. Does anybody else have any more questions? I really don't want to. I really don't want to make this a racing show. I'm sorry, PSU. I'm gonna veto that question. Really, I don't talk about NASCAR. I know these two love it.
No,
I know
he's
these two
talking
love it.
about. No, he's talking about if with Oregon.
Oh shit!
losing
I'm
out of-
sorry. I saw Stewart and it auto computed in my head to fucking like Tony Stewart.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. With Evan Stewart likely out, does that make it more of a 2-horse race instead of the initial 3-horse race? Who's going to be tough against Ohio State this year? That's what I want to know. Who's the other team?
Penn State.
Penn State's never going to win. Penn State is kind of like the bridesmaid right now, never the bride. Ever since their near death penalty experience, it's been like they've always just been like fucking.
At least I give James Franklin credit. He at least keeps giving that program winning seasons.
Yeah, but at a certain point, like you want to have more than just losing to Ohio State and Michigan every year.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you got to beat those fucking teams. Yeah, fan. You gotta win some of these games at least sometimes. They don't expect you to bat 100. But you shouldn't be 1-16 against Ohio State and Michigan or something, whatever the record was.
So, all right, I'm looking at the Ohio State schedule. Unless Texas knocks you guys off in week 1,
yeah,
or unless Penn State beats you in November, you are going undefeated until you get to the Michigan game, and then we'll find out if you go undefeated again.
Fuck you. We're not losing to Michigan 5 years in a row. That ain't gonna fucking happen. Absolutely not.
You want to make a bet on that?
No, do not.
No, I don't want to make a bet on that. I don't.
If
you did, it wouldn't be anything crazy. I would just make it where if Ohio State loses, you got to buy me an Oregon jersey. If Ohio State wins, I got to buy you an Ohio State jersey.
Jerseys are expensive, man. Let's make it a T-shirt. You got a deal.
Yeah, I was going to say T-shirts, the cheapest T-shirt.
All right. If Ohio State beats Michigan, you owe me a Buckeye shirt. That's the deal.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Michigan beating Ohio State again. It would have to be karma because of that era of domination Ohio State had on Michigan for the past 2 decades. What was it again? They mentioned that joke on the SEC shorts for like a blue. It was sort of like a Blue's Clues, children's television show, Blue Bloods, basically.
Yeah.
And like Nebraska's a dumpster fire. Michigan's taken like 15, lost 15 of the last 16 against Ohio State. And all that stuff. Texas is back. It's like constant rebuilding. That joke. But
yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, Michigan is just due for a little for their own little reign of dominance, just to even things out again. You paid the piper.
No, they still have the all-time lead in the record. We still have some catching up to do. Why do you think I'm always harping on like Ohio State needs to beat Michigan every year? We're still behind in the all-time rival record. Michigan won every single meeting against Ohio State until like 1919.
So my dad pointed this out. This is actually a good thing. What would you consider a rivalry? Because he makes the thing like Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State. That's not a rivalry. Oklahoma State's like lost 80 games against Oklahoma. It's like the record is like 80-17 or something.
Yeah.
Rivalries turn out to be the Joel Embiid meme about the Celtics and the Sixers. This isn't a rivalry. They always kick our ass. Or something he said.
Well, here's the thing. Rivalries aren't just determined by wins and losses. Oh, no.
Zach,
what is
look
this?
at Zach's message and notice the letter that he kept out.
Hey, something tells me that Red won't be taking that trip up north no matter how much you convince him.
No. Something tells it that Red won't be taking that trip up north no matter how much you convince him.
Here's the problem. I have to go to Michigan every once in a while. I got family that lives up there. Sorry.
It's
Battle
it's not
Creek.
like it's not like when he was forced to go to Pittsburgh.
I was forced to go to Pittsburgh once, actually. I lost a bet. So,
USF baby.
a guy that's no longer a friend of mine because he's a fucking prick uh, made
Damn.
me a bet, and I lost, and I drove to Pittsburgh on a whim, and that was that.
How far
So-
is Pittsburgh from where you are, by the way?
4 hours. So it's not
That's,
bad.
that's me visiting family up in Dallas.
Yeah, so it's like me. I went there. I got there by like 1 o'clock. Grabbed a Permani sandwich and then went home. That was it.
Oh yeah, you burned one as a warning to tree.
Yeah. Yeah. 2 years ago, I made sure to save that Permani sandwich for the time that tree would end up in my video, so I could burn it as a warning in effigy.
Oh,
Steelers
speaking
not
of
from the Super Bowl.
speaking of traveling, because this was something I saw on Twitter that was like absolutely hilarious. The idea, okay, right now, let's see, the Pacers and the Thunder are playing each other. Let's see, holy crap, Thunder are up 47-29 against the Pacers, but then again, the Pacers are 50-29. Then again, the Pacers, once again, Halliburton keeps putting daggers in game one. But anyways, somebody pointed out that it was talking about like the driving distance between Indianapolis and Oklahoma City and all that stuff, and then you're just like people like some people like for Midwesterns or something. That's easily drivable. That's easily drivable.
Well, people were comparing that to the distance between Edmonton and Florida from the Stanley Cup Final, which for the second year in a row is the longest distance between Stanley Cup Final teams because one is out in Western Canada and the other one's in the Southeast United States.
But yeah, the idea of just like this is apparently like a Midwest thing. Like you can wait like 11 out, like a 12-hour trip that's drivable to you. It's just like yeah, that was.
I'm going to get us back on to college football here for a second. PSU Blackshew has a really good response for rivalries here. What is a rivalry? It's determined by hate and close games. Penn State and Ohio State existed in the spot below their rivalry with Michigan because it's always close. But without Penn State winning more, it's not a rivalry. It's just a hard game. I agree with that. I also would say rivalries are made regardless of wins or losses. You just hate the other school, like Texas versus Texas A&M. That has been a dormant rivalry up until last season, but they still hate each other. And like they hate each other so much, it's in A&M's fucking fight song. Saw Varsity's horns off. That is literally in the fight song for Texas A&M. That's how bad they hate Texas. That's all their fight song is just shitting on Texas.
It's
hatred. It's pure good old Georgia versus Georgia Tech. It's not a close series. Good old fashioned hate. There's nothing else that those two schools shouldn't play each other every year, but they do because they fucking hate each other. And they can't stand each other.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Funny, you can't manufacture the rivalries. Not like what SEC did with the rivalry week when they tried it when A&M joined and just like oh crap, just let them play LSU.
It eventually became a rivalry because of that damn 7 overtime barn run they had.
That game was great.
That's when the rivalry was born. But A&M really only had Arkansas from their old Southwest Conference days. Penn State. Yeah, I mean that was the downside of Penn State joining the Big Ten Conference, Black Shoe, because their rivalry with Pitt had to go dormant. Same with their rivalry with Notre Dame. Same with a bunch of other schools. West Virginia is another one, I think. Syracuse, yeah. Bama, yeah. I don't blame him. All right, cool. Well, we're about done with our hour. Any final thoughts for you guys? Alan, Akbar, final thoughts?
Yeah. No, wait. We had one last thing.
The biggest rivalry in college football is Akron and the win column.
Hey, man, all Red's got to do is grind in college football 26, and those NIL payments will start going up.
Share the thing. Put on screen what I shared on Discord.
Okay, real quick. I will share this really quick because we are out of time. Here you go.
Like 5 minutes to spare.
If we all commit to playing as Kent State every day, we can boost their NIL fund and flip them into a national title contender. That is the word on how they get paid out in EA college football starting this year. The more you play as a team, the more they get paid.
Honestly,
no. Don't make me GM of a football team. That's an awful idea. I will run that shit into the ground so quick. Big Retro, thank you for the compliment. That's a perfect way to leave it all.
This whole thing was actually very interesting because you have to consider for a second who gets played more and all that stuff. Because here's the thing: some people like the difficulty of having to rebuild or basically take a terrible program and make it good. And then there are the other people that just want to play their favorite schools or something. They want to play the big stuff and all that stuff.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. We're out of time, Akbar. We got to pick up on this another day, but man, I am running into overtime. I got to go. Gentlemen, as always, Alan, Akbar, any final thoughts real quick, like 30 seconds?
No. I got
nothing. Right. Cool. Alan? Yep. All right, that's it then. Big Retro, thank you for the comment. If you haven't already, go watch Wisconsin Badgers College Football's Curdled Milk. The newest upload to the YouTube channel just dropped a few hours ago on the channel. It's already gotten some pretty good reviews by you guys watching it. You crazy bastards continue to love my shit for some reason. The next video I have not decided on yet. That's why I didn't tease it at the end of the video. But it is going to be out sooner than you expect. Yeah, I made an hour video in about 3 weeks. Can you tell how happy I was to move on to something else? So that's it from us here at This Week in College Football. My name is Red. Be careful out there. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And I'll see you guys next Sunday for another week in college football. Take care. Have a good evening.